Holding close, holding tight, let the moon slowly take over on night. The sky has never been clearer than now. The little lights float around, a million fireflies that never touch the ground. I see your pretty eyes light up.
Today, I'm going to show you guys how to create a 3D photo gallery inside of After Effects without using any third-party plugins. This is gonna be very easy, very simple. Even if you are very new to After Effects, still you can create this using this really simple steps. I am Nikhil from Dope Motions, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here we are in After Effects. Let's start by creating a new composition. I'll call this media, where we can drag and drop in our pictures, photos or videos, whatever that you want. I'm going to call this media 01. For the width and height, I'll keep it 800 by 800 pixels, 30 FPS, and 1 minute long should be good. Hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is select the rectangular tool, make sure the stroke is set to 30 pixels, and make sure the comp is selected. Double click on the rectangle tool to create a shape just like that. Now to add some details, what I can do is I can select the text tool and I add in some text. So I'll type in something like photo frame. For the font, I'll go with a 𝗦𝗫𝗃 black should be good, and bring down the size really small, just like so. Maybe increase the spacing a bit and set this to black. Place it somewhere around there, maybe around 12 pixels. Okay, that looks good. Maybe I'll set this to 𝗦𝗫𝗃 bold. That looks much better. So I'll place it somewhere around there. Looks good to me. Let's hit Ctrl D to duplicate it and pull this at the bottom. And I'm going to call this, maybe I'll add some timing, so I can add 0, 0, and I'll place this one, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it and drag it holding Shift. So we can keep it right here, and I'll select this one and I can type in maybe play. Just some random details that would look good with our photo. Alright, this is looking good. Let's drag in some images. So here I have few images that I have downloaded from the unsplash.com. So I'll drag and drop in maybe this image. This looks good. I'll scale that down just like so. So now we have our image. Let's actually select these layers and hit Ctrl Shift C to pre-compose them, and I'll call this frame. There we go. Hit OK. So that is looking good. Let's create a new composition, which is going to be our main comp. So I'll call this main. I'll select a custom HD TV 1920 to 1080 preset. Make this 30 FPS and 1 second long. So I can hit 60 dot to keep it 60 seconds long. That is 1 minute. Okay, there we go. Let's add some background to this. So I'll hit Ctrl Y to create a new solid. Call this BG for background. Hit OK and add some gradient ramp. So I'll go into effects and preset and type in gradient ramp. There we should have it, where it is. There we go. Let's select it and drag and drop it onto our BG. Set this to radial ramp, and for the color I can go with a nice yellowish color. I can swap the colors as well and bring this into the center and drag it a bit just like so. So we have some nice gradient on our background. By the way, gradients are so much trending these days. Like everyone is using gradient in their UI UX design, and they definitely look really nice. So yes, that makes sense to use a gradient here. Okay, so that is looking good. Let's drag and drop in our media placeholder, but before that we want to add more images, right? So what I can do is hit Ctrl D to keep on creating some copies. So I'll maybe make 10 copies. Looks good. Let's select them all and double click to open that up. and then I can delete the image and I can add a different image. So let's start adding them. I'm gonna just drag and drop it, hit S to scale them down, and just bring down the size, place it into a nice position, and I'm going to do the same thing with every image. Alright, so all our pre-comps are ready to roll. You can also add a video if you want to, but in this case I'm just using the images. So let's close this up and drag in all the images or all the media composition into the main comp. We can close all the other compositions, we don't need to see them. And let's create a new camera. I'll keep it a 2-noded camera. 50mm looks good, hit OK, and turn all the layers to 3D. Now if you don't see this 3D option, you can hit F4 on the keyboard to make it visible. So now all the layers are 3D. Let's create a new null object. I'll call this position. Hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, call this wiggle, and make them 3D as well. Now I can parent the camera to the position null object and parent the position null object to the wiggle layer. Let's select the wiggle, hit P to bring down the position properties, hold Alt and click on the stopwatch. So now we can add any expression that we want. I'm going to add some simple wiggle expression to give it a nice handle feel to the camera. So wiggle, open parentheses, 1.5, comma, maybe I'll go with around 10, should be good. So now you can see we have some nice handheld movement, camera movement to our project. Simple and easy. So that is that. Now what I can do is I can start arranging the images into the 3D space. So to do that, I can go right over here in the view section and switch to 2 views horizontal. So now here we can see our camera. This is our camera and this is the point where it's going to focus. So now what I can do is I can select maybe the image 2 and place it into the Z space in a different position. So I can drag it and place it just like so. And you can also, move it wherever that you want. So maybe I'll place it somewhere on there. Put it a bit more back in Z space. Select the third one. Let's drag that out. And I'll drag it maybe something like that, and I can easily adjust it from right over here. So I'll place it maybe something like that, and you don't need to be very precise while doing it. You can be a bit random. So I'll select this one and let's place it maybe somewhere around there, or I can adjust from right over here. So I'll place it just like that. Select the 5th one. I'll place 5th one maybe to the right and drag it right over here, maybe a bit closer to the camera. That looks good. Let's select the 6th one, bring this way back in the Z space. Select it and let's place it maybe somewhere around there. Bring this back, something like that. Select the 7th one. Let's drag that baby out. Maybe a bit back and place it right over here at the top. Just try to fill up the spaces, so that it looks nice. The more images you add, the more cool or more nice it's gonna look. So you can play around with this stuff. Something like that, and I'll place this something like so. There we go. Let's select the 8th one. The 9th one. Place it somewhere around there. Or let's try to keep it maybe right here. And you can, later on change the position, so you don't need to worry about it. And the 10th one, I'll go with maybe right here. Maybe out of the frame basically. Just like so. Alright, so now we have them arranged. Let's go into the position and let's start animating this. So right over here, I'll go to around maybe, let's zoom in actually. And let's go to 1 second and 15 frames. Select the position, hit P to bring down the position properties, create a keyframe, go back and let's zoom in like all the way up. So really close, like maybe there, until our image is visible. Select the keyframes, right click, go to keyframe assistant and easy ease. Go into the graph editor, and if your graph editor is not looking like this, don't panic. Just right click and make sure you are working in the edit speed graph and not in the edit value graph. I'll select this point and drag this handle holding shift just like that to the left. This one a bit as well. So now we have this really nice animation, which looks really cool. I can also add a new solid, so hit Control Y, which is going to be our fade in. So fade in, I'll call this, hit OK, and I'll go to around maybe 15 frames. Hold Alt and close square bracket to crop that layer. Hit T to bring down the opacity, create a keyframe, bring that keyframe at the very beginning, and then set this to 0. So now we have a simple opacity animation or fade in animation, basically something like that. So it looks very nice. Select it, keyframe assistant, easy ease, or you can simply hit F9 on the keyboard. So that is that, looking pretty nice. Let's select the position or null object and hit U so we can see the keyframes. So I'll go right over here and hit, and I'm going to hold shift and page down. So if I hit shift and page down, it's going to move the time indicator 10 frames forward. If I hit it again, 20 frames forward, and maybe around 20 frames, or let's go at maybe 30 frames. Select this keyframe, hit Control C, Control V to paste the same keyframe. Go 50 frames forward. So I'll hold shift and click on the page down button 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can move it to another image. So now what I can do is I can actually switch back into our first view, and let's actually move this. Oh, maybe let's go back into horizontal view, and I can actually hold this and move it to any other image. So I think I'll move it to around maybe this image. Zoom in. Just like that, and then I can easily manipulate this or change it. Now you can see that image is coming in the middle, but we don't need to worry. We can zoom in really close just like that, and then select this image and put this back in Z space. Also, you can turn on the title action safe just to be a bit more precise and just keep it in the middle. And yeah, that is looking pretty great. Now, to make sure that our image is always in focus, try to align this line with the image. So I can just bring this a bit back. There we go. So now we have a really nice and simple movement. But as you can see, this image comes in between, that is this one. So what I can do is I can easily just adjust the position. Still it's coming in between, so I can still place it a bit. Or what I can do is actually I can select this image and bring it a bit to the right. So this should solve our problem. Let's go right over here and then drag our position just like so. Now let's see. Yep, this is working pretty good. Now again, I'll hit K to jump to the keyframe, hold shift and click on page down, 3 times to hop 30 frames forward in time. Select it, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to copy paste the same keyframe. Let's jump in 50 frames forward and let's move to another image. So I'll move to maybe this one. So what I can do is I can just select it, drag it, and just place it like that. And then I can adjust it from right over here. There we go. So now we have this really nice and simple animation. Let's again go 30 frames forward in time. 1, 2, 3. Select the keyframes, hit Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to copy paste the keyframe. Let's go 50 frames forward in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's move to another image. And I'm gonna repeat the same exact process again. So maybe this time I'll hop in to this image. Now we can adjust this, so I'll just make sure it's in the center. Just like that. And there we have a really nice animation. So let's repeat the same exact process again and again. So now we have few images aligned, as you can see, but the space looks pretty empty. So to fill this up, what we can do is, first of all, let's get rid of 2 views. Let's switch to 1 view again. I'll go right over here. This looks pretty filled up, so I'll hop on to the second image, and right over here you can see there is no image, in the background. So what I can do is I can select or duplicate any image that I want. So I can select this, hit Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and place it into the Z space. I can also push this back in Z space, so I can hit P to bring down the position properties, and I'm going to basically push this back to create a nice depth of field. Right now we don't see any depth of field because our camera properties of depth of field is off. So I can select the camera properties, hit A 2 times and turn on the depth of field. Let's increase the aperture to around 300, and now we have some nice depth of field. Maybe I'll go with 350, get much more depth. Yep, so now if I go back to our first frame, you can see we have this really nice depth in our scene. I think 350 is a bit too much, so I'll go with 300. That looks really nice, as you can see. So I'll go right over here. Let's add some more images to add some depth. So I can hit Ctrl+D, select some random image, but don't scale them down. You can push them back in Z space to make them smaller or bigger. So in this case, I'm going to make them smaller. So I'll push them back in Z space. I can place it here, select this one, hit Ctrl+D, and this is the same exact image. I can delete it, select this one, hit Ctrl+D, push this right over here, P, scale this back, and this time I'll push this, keep it actually something like that. So that we get some nice depth. As you can see now, it looks much more interesting. Same thing I'm going to do with some other images. So I can select it, hit Ctrl+D, bring this right over here and push this back in Z space. Let's hit Ctrl+D again, place this one here, hit P and push this back in Z space. And yeah, I think this is looking good. Let's go ahead. This is looking pretty good actually. So I can select this, hit Ctrl+D, I place this one right here, and everything else looks good. This looks very empty, so I can Control D duplicate it, put this one here, select this one, Control D duplicate it. Oh, if it is the same image, so I can delete it. Select this one, Control D. In this case, I'm duplicating the image, but you can create more pre-comps or more composition of media and add more media to it. So you can basically add more images. That is what I mean to say. So yeah, that is looking good. Let's add some more images right over here. Hit Control D and place this one, Control D, place this one here. Maybe a bit forward in Z space, something like that, to create much more depth. Control D, same image, so I can hit Control Z, Control D to duplicate it and push this back in Z space. So yeah, there we go. Let's move forward, and yep, that was the last one. So right now you can see we have our scene ready to roll. Now one more thing that you can do is turn on the motion blur. That is gonna make things look much more natural. So let's actually preview this with the motion blur. So it's gonna take a bit more time to preview this. So as you can see with the motion blur, things are looking very natural and organic. You can see looks pretty good actually. So let's pretty quickly do some color correction to this. Let's go into layer, new, and add an adjustment layer. Call this CC for color correction. And the first thing that I'm going to add is a toner. So I can add a CC toner. By the way, I'm using the FX console. So if you're new to After Effects, you don't know what is FX console. Basically, it is a free After Effects script to, I can quickly search effects here. But if you don't have the script, you can go into effects and preset and just type in there if you want to. So for the highlights, I'll go with a nice reddish color, just a touch. For the midtones, I'll make it some nice orange. And for the shadows, I'll go with a dark blue color. Or maybe let's actually go with the purplish blue and blend this by around 70%. Should look good. Yep, you can see before and after. It gives this really nice warm feeling to this. Then I can add some curves to this. Let's bring this down to add a bit more contrast and punch up the highlights a bit. I can switch to the red channel and increase the redness a little bit. Just a touch. And finally, I can add some sharpen to this. Maybe around, let's go with 25. Yep, there we go. Looking really, really nice. And the last thing that I would like to add is a light leak. So I'm going to drag and drop it, set this to screen. So I'm going to hit F4, set the blending mode to screen, bring down the opacity to around 70% and add a curves adjustment. Then I can duplicate this, hit Control D and rotate it by 180 degrees. And by the way, you can download the complete project file from the link in the description below. So make sure to check it out. And I think the CC toner is a bit too much. I can go right here and make this maybe 80%. That looks good. Maybe bring down the light leaks opacity a bit. So I'll hit T and bring it down to 50%. There we go, looking much better. And there we have a nice 3D photo gallery animation inside of After Effects without using any plugins. So that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, then please do make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this tutorial and if you want me to create some more 3D photo gallery animations. And also make sure to follow me on Instagram at dope.motions. Till then, take care. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay raw, stay creative.